Oh. Welcome to Meaningful Mornings. In a recent class, the discussion subject I gave to everyone was, how do you practically change your purpose? How do you practically change your purpose? And many shared great insights. My observation is to accept the purposelessness of one's profession, one's relationship, one's identification. When you accept that purposelessness, you learn from it. You learn to grow out of it. If you deny the purposelessness, then you never find purpose. You normalize that purposelessness. In Meaningful Mornings, we are magnifying what purposelessness is and naturally what purpose is. When one reflects on their life, operating on a trial and error basis does work, but it only works for objective sciences. Let's say, like cooking, maybe building a machine. And trial and error works slowly. Whereas, for us, if we take life as a whole, time is precious. Every one of us, our bodies are getting older. Our mind, if it's not given purpose, becomes duller. So trial and error is not a good way to figure out how to live. And how to live is not an objective science like cooking or building a machine. It is a subjective science. What is my role? What is my responsibility? And this is why our Creator has shared with us how to live in creation through a manual. This manual that we're exploring right now is the Bhagavad Gita. And great proof of this, at the end of chapter 1, at the beginning of chapter 2, when Prince Arjuna doesn't have the manual, then how is he? His skin is burning, his head is burning. And then fast forward to the end of chapter 2, and he has only a little bit of this manual, some verses from chapter 2, and he's perked up. His eyes are brighter. He's asking Sri Krishna questions, trying to make this more relatable. Chapter 1 shows us what fear is. Chapter 2, why there is fear. And now the manual is guiding us to grow out of selfishness and into selflessness. Selfishness is being a hypocrite, being a thief, being vain. These are all words that Sri Krishna uses in chapter 3. And now, in the middle portion of this chapter, specifically verse 17, he's encouraging us to live by rightness. Right actions matched with the right attitude helps us to identify this is a subjective science, to identify with the right Atma, who you are. And that naturally then leads to the right Ananda, not a dependent joy, but an independent joy. In verse 17, the word Atma is used multiple times. Atma ratihi, Atma triptaha, Atma santushtaha. That is experiencing oneself, then evolving more than the body, I am the spirit, and then finally establishing oneself that I am the spirit. This thought is continued in verse 18, but made more practical, almost showing us the utility of right actions, right attitude, right Atma, right Ananda. Naiva tasya krite nartaha, na krite neha kaschana, na chasya sarva bhuteshu, kaschid arthava pashayaha. Chapter 3, verse 18, Shri Krishna shares, na eva tasya kritena, which means nothing needs to be done by the one who's feeling the right Ananda. Shared in a visual way, in the pursuit of peace, if one is peaceful, then one doesn't need to pursue. Shared in another way, in Vedanta and the science of happiness, a common teaching is yavat praptavyam, which means so long as you need to gain something, become something, tavat kartavyam, so long you have to do something. You have to become that. But here, Sri Krishna is highlighting for the one who is being, the one who is independently joyous, they don't have to do, they don't have to become. Relatedly, na akritena iha kaschana, they're not concerned with what has been done, nor what needs to be done. Not concerned with what has been done, nor what needs to be done. And the implication here is, some may feel, okay, I'm feeling joy, but that will go away, so I have to keep doing. But Sri Krishna is canceling that out here. Once one experiences the right Ananda, that is not a temporary nature. That nature is unconditional. Sharing this in a different way. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Rishi Uddhava asks Sri Krishna, who is Daridra? Daridra means the one who's impoverished. And if you take this literally, then we measure this by income, that my income is less than the poverty line. But Sri Krishna responds with, the one who's discontent. They're the ones who are focusing on what's absent in their life, what they don't have. So Sri Krishna is blocking that. For the one who's independently joyous, they're not thinking about where they have to travel to, what other people are doing. This continues. These are more descriptions of the right Ananda. Na cha asya sarva bhuteshu kaschid artha vyapashrayaha. Another indicator of the one with the right Ananda, artha vyapashrayaha, to depend, sarva bhuteshu, on beings, na kaschid. They do not depend on any being. To not depend means to be independent. Offering you a cultural narrative to make this more real. Every one of us is born with 5 debts. They're called the pancharina. These debts are, in our life, there are 5 facets, 5 factors that are comprehensively dedicating to us. They're dedicating to us, so we owe a debt to them. They are nature's forces, like the sun, nature's beings, like birds, society, let's say first responders, families. My parents have helped me learn how to drive. And most importantly, our tradition of guides. Why is this most important? Because they're happy, and only happy people can guide us to happiness. And what's the purpose of life? To be happiness. It is not to be a first responder or learn how to drive. It is to be happiness. For the one who is happiness, they have paid off those debts. They're no longer a liability to this multiverse. They are an asset. They're really an investment. And so for us, how we can tune into this, these pancharinas, these 5 dependencies, we should engage in the Pancha Mahayagna. In our culture, this is the 14th samskara. Once you become independent in your relationships, you have to start being dedicated to this multiverse. Then we too will pay off our debts. We will not be dependent on any. We will feel free. What lovely verses and lovely chapter and lovely manual. From inspiration to application, your application was to make sure that you are part of our completion of our semester. August 15th is Independence Day for Bharat, for India. Any celebration, whether it's cultural, national, etc., use that as a check for you on, are you more inspired? Are you more independent? Don't get lost in the activity. Get lost in the philosophy of that celebration. That's why you're being encouraged to be part of Independence Day and so on. Your application for this morning is to ensure that you're reading Pujaswami Chinmayananda's commentary, how he explains these verses of Bhagavad Gita. You'll have a gap now until we start our next semester. And even in our next semester, we're going to have reading time before I start to reflect on these verses. Get into the habit of reading what you've missed and definitely the forthcoming verses. Shanti, Shanti, Shantihi. Be safe, be sound, be serene, be joy.